Hello class, in this video we are going to be recycling cafeteria trays to create a diorama. Diorama is a 3D relief kind of sculpture that is a paper sculpture that is coming out in 3D dimension like you can see here. This is an example of a diorama in a box where we use a small box to create an aquarium using foam peanut from packing material and to make a fish, and we created backgrounds to make a coral by printing them on a paper. And in today's lesson we're gonna be creating wonderful diorama using printed papers like we did in class the other day. I will guide you through making these corals again, and we are going to do it step by step and assemble our own diorama. So I would ask you to start saving help us save more of these cafeteria trays so that we can help everybody can have their own diorama display. So today I'm going to show you how to start with creating these backgrounds and then how to create that dimension that will make it more 3D using tapes and pipe cleaner, as you can see here. So let's get started. Number one step in this lesson, we'll be using paper, and we're gonna be printing by folding the paper over one time like a book. You're gonna open the paper out like so, and we are going to first start with yellow. Take the cap, put it in a safe place on a paper plate, preferably so that you don't lose it next to you. And we're gonna put a little dot on one side of the paper. You're gonna close and put the cap back on. You're gonna get another color. Let's try using blue. And we're also mixing primary colors to make secondary colors. So of course, blue and yellow, what do we predict? What is it gonna make? Blue and yellow makes. We're gonna close the book. We're gonna print by mixing the colors together and massaging the paper nice and firm. And we should get a nice little secondary color, green. And we're gonna keep going. This actually looks like a fish now. Looks like a nice little fish we could cut out and place on a pipe cleaner like this and give it a little eye, because it looks like almost like a parrotfish. Maybe if I wanted to make the tail look more like a tail, I could add a little bit of depth of color in here to accomplish that tail look. Let's see if we can try. I'm gonna put a little dot of yellow on this side and a little dot of blue on this side. Oops, it's a little bit too much. And let's close the paper carefully. And now I can actually move the paint. I know I want it a little more triangle looking, so I can kind of see how the paint is moving on the paper plate, and I can kind of control it. So can you see that triangle there? And when I open it, wow, that's a much bigger tail than I predicted. Again, less paint is more. So I'm gonna let go of the idea of the fish, or I could let it dry and just cut out exactly how much I wanted. I'll make two fish out of this. Kind of looks like a really neat fish. We wanted to do the corals though. So for the backgrounds like this, see all the different, it really does look like corals when you come and look closer. And then with the sticker and the googly eyes of the fish, it's just gonna be wonderful looking. So whatever your turn's like, it's gonna be, your turned out like, it's gonna be nice. Because for the background, we're gonna cut it into the shapes we like once it dries. So right now we're just doing the background colored paper. So we can continue, and I see that I have still wet paint here and here. So yellow and red paint, put the cup in a safe place. So red, put the cap back on. And I'll add a little more yellow in here. I don't need much because it's still wet, but I'll do a little red. This is probably gonna lose the shape of the fish, but right now I'm going for the backgrounds for the corals. So I'm not gonna worry about the fish right now. I'm gonna close it. I'm gonna blend it, and I can see how it's blending into the coral nice. So I'm kind of making a dome, kind of like dome is like a half circle looking shape. And I'm blending it all into that green and yellow. And I'm gonna open it. Perfect. So this is a perfect background for my sea inspired diorama. For example, it would look like something like this. This one is dry now. So this one is in a box, but whatever we have, I think these trays are really neat. So I think the trays are gonna work really good if we can talk to the cafeteria ladies to save these for us. And then we're gonna let this dry. Put it aside. For the fish, some younger grades can use a paper that they can cut out. We are gonna provide some really nice ideas for the fish from Make Your Own Coral Reef by Claire Beaton. It's a wonderful pop-up reef scene that inspired me with figurines to cut out and color in. It also has a really neat diorama-like page where you can stand it up like that, which is what we're going for in our tray. And when you look through the book, it teaches you a lot about coral. For example, this is a brain coral. And it shows you how to make these diorama parts as well, and the different fish. So similar to what we're doing with pipe cleaners, we're gluing a little, putting a little tape and a pipe cleaner, kind of hanging it over. We can do with different creatures or stand them on a little paper stand like sea slug, sponge, hermit crab, stingray, parrotfish, scallop, oyster, jellyfish, anemone. So each student will choose theirs, and then together as a class we'll create a beautiful diorama with fish, and we're gonna hopefully have lots of trays to situate these on and glue them as a support on these beautiful backgrounds of coral. Coral clownfish, cowfish, angelfish, giant clam, seahorse crab, queen conch, the brain coral here, seahorse, clownfish in an anemone, just like in Nemo, remember? Even a sea turtle, lobster. So it just shows you wonderful ideas how to use this book and to learn a little bit about corals. Corals are dying all over the world because of lack of oxygen. The waters are getting too hot for them. What is a coral reef? Coral reef are ocean animals. Although coral looks like a rock, in fact, it is a tiny colony of animals. They're called coral polyps. They feed on tiny creatures that are called zooplankton. When old polyps die, they leave behind a hard shell and new polyps grow from this. Reefs take thousands and thousands of years to grow, so when we lose our coral reefs, it will take a long time to rebuild. There are thousands of different types of coral, but they can be divided into two main groups: hard coral and soft coral. Hard coral is like brain coral. Elkhorn coral have hard limestone skeleton that forms on the basis of coral reef. The soft coral looks like sea fingers. So one looks like a brain, one looks like sea fingers. This type of coral does not build reefs. It's soft, okay? And then we have coral growing in different areas such as Caribbean islands, in Atlantic Ocean, Red Sea of Africa, on the east coast of Africa, Indian Ocean, Pacific next to Australia as well. And the corals do need our help, so we need to bring awareness and education to global warming, and this project will remind us of how important all these animals really need coral to live in. Clownfish needs an anemone to hide in, and lots of fish survive and feeds on coral. So our project is very meaningful, and it's a science project as well. It can be a part of your science fair if you research about coral more. You can learn even more, bringing it into science. Okay. So this is for the part 1. For part 2, we're going to start assembling the corals on a tray. Okay, we are back with part 2. We're going to start assembling our printed paper. So I printed some papers here that I'm going to assemble, and I'm going to just draw some corals that I'm going to cut out with my marker, that I can just do a wavy line over. It already tells me how the coral wants to look like, as you can see. And you're just gonna go around and cut it out. Cut your coral out so it looks fabulous. All these different shapes of coral that are mimicking natural organic shapes. These shapes are called organic. For example, this sponge is an organic shape. So we're going to cut it out, and take your time with this. You can even cut out deeper for more dimension. And once you're done cutting, I'll show you how to glue it on that tray. I really love that the tray is black in color, because it gives you that depth, like if there is deep water behind or sea behind. And what we're gonna do, this one already has the fish on it and some texture feathers that look like coral. So you see the loop? All I did was take a piece of paper like this, and we are going to cut a strip out and use a little bit of tape to create a loop. I'm gonna overlap it just a little, tape it down, and then you're gonna turn your prop around, your coral around, and you're gonna, I still had a little tape left, so I'm just gonna situate it like this, tape it down, and now, as you can see, just like here, I can tape this part down to the coral. I'm gonna take a little tape it down to the tray, such as here, and it's gonna, you can push on that, it's gonna fit right in, and it's gonna come out and create that relief looking look that we're looking for. This one already has it on, so I'll do it again. And I'll situate it in these different blocks here. And as you can see, these fish are already on, but I'll show you how to make your own and fit it in. So we can, as you can see, tape a little pipe cleaner and make a hole inside of a texture paper. And just small little incision, just feed that pipe cleaner through so it holds it in place. Kind of hangs on there, right? And I can even put it over the edge of the tray, or I can do the same as I did before, which is cut it out, cut my coral out of here, the different shapes of coral. And when I'm happy with the coral, do the same. Affix the coral back into the tray so that we create those interesting 3D dimensions into the coral, into the tray. So we're gonna keep decorating and creating more textures. For example, we're gonna use different cutouts. These are for the fish, more fish, and then some foam to decorate the sides and create more dimensions in front of the coral, like in a similar way that we did here. And we can use a little bit of a yarn, and this is a little 3D packing fish that can be easily made as well when we have the material and time in class to add that as well to it. And one interesting thing that we can do, just like this paper is scratch paper, we can even scratch some forms in the background to make it look like ocean, and then glue it in those open windows and make it look like there are some caves in the back there somewhere. So we have some scratch paper. We can measure a paper that would fit inside of the little windows. Like so. And we can start scratching those forms in. And you can use a pin or even the end of pipe cleaner, since we already have it on our tables, to make fish in the background or corals and seaweed growing in there. And because of the video is being so long right now, we'll pick it up in class, and I hope you enjoyed this project, making a diorama with coral and fish, and I'll see you in class.